question the goals that Manchester United conceded. They showed great character to come back and get that point, Owen. No? I'm just trying to be positive.
There was a lot going on in the game. The first 20 minutes were really good and they were really efficient. But then after that, 20 minutes after that were disappointing. There were so many holes defensively, didn't stop any crosses. And then to go 3-2 down after being 2-0 was I think, even for United, was quite ridiculous, really. But credit the boys. Eric made 2 subs later on, brought on Johnny Evans and Maguire. Even with 10 men, they nicked the point. But still, I think there'll be a lot of question marks, a lot of frustration with that. Start was so good, and then the middle part of the game was crazy, and then they found a way to fight back. So but basically that's what it's been like for a couple of years. It's, we just saw it again tonight.
Coming into the game, Karen, we spoke before the match about the pressure that the manager was under, about how important it was for him to pick up a result in this game, but also get a performance out of the team. The way the match started with the Marcus Rashford goal, it was what he wanted to see. Like
Owen said, it was a brilliant first 20 minutes for them, controlled the game, obviously went 2-0 up, but then after that, then, like I said earlier, they fell apart, and this is the 1-0. I like the build-up. I like popping it in, Casemiro flicking it around the corner. This was a constant get-out for them, and I think the press from Porto was wrong. But nevertheless, Manchester United capitalised on it again. Nice diagonal switch, midfield was split. Eriksen in really good space, and what I liked about this was they kept giving Rashford the ball, kept giving him 1v1s, and then leave him alone and say, go on, push and run, and we'll leave you to take someone on, gets inside to the box, and then you're petrified to take him down, and goalkeeper's poor in that, but you earn your own look, Owen.
You do. The first goal was really good, and it's nice to see Marcus be so positive, get the ball and run at defenders. He did against Twente. I said to him after the game, really well played. He was really positive and really direct, and that's what you want to see from Marcus. Okay, the keeper, he can do better. But I think when Marcus runs forward and gets ahead of steam like that, he is really, really difficult to play against. Great goal, perfect start to the game. And the only probably negative was against Twente was, can you go get a second? But they did that in this game. You're saying, right, brilliant press. Højlund competes for the ball there, and they get bodies forward. Everybody's getting into the box. Marcus, nice patience, good way to pass Højlund. And that's a really good goal. At 20 minutes, you'd say, wow, that's perfect. At a
and
tough
on his first start of the season as well.
Brilliant. And he's a really positive runner. And there were so many positives from the first 20 minutes. You could have never anticipated they could throw that game away. Because the first 20 minutes, they were clinical in front of the goal. We said they'd wasted chances. They didn't do that today. But then defensively, there were so many gaps.
The game unravelled after this, Karen, didn't it? As soon as Porto got a goal back.
Yeah, they did, and it was crosses into the box. But at 2-0, just going off that, I thought, go on, turn the screw, go for 3, go for 4, get the mentality. But then they just, as you mentioned, then defending too many crosses into the box, first and second balls. The concentration from United was poor, and then Porto were back in the game.
Let's have a look at that Porto goal then that got them back in this, Owen.
Yeah, I think defensively they just don't deal with it. De Ligt there, it's not a great header. Then Marcus just lets João Mario run in. It's easy for him to cross the ball. And then they just miss sight of it. I think it's difficult for Mazraoui at the back post. He just tries to get something on it. But somebody's got to deal with this ball. Second balls are such an important part of the game. You see João Mario just walks into that space. Somebody's got to pick him up. You can't just let him walk in there. And obviously Pepe goes in off the back of Martinez. He's just a little bit late. There's 3 of them that could have dealt with that, and they don't.
But even in the build-up, that De Ligt and Martinez, are so... I don't know what they're doing. They're not a partnership. They're all over the shop, and they were all over the gaff tonight. And I'm not surprised in the end he brought the 2 centre-backs on, but wow.
And at that point, we were saying, when we were watching it, how are Manchester United going to respond after conceding? Well, the answer is not very well, because less than 6 minutes later, they concede a second.
But that's been their issue for a couple of seasons. They concede one, and then they concede another. And that's exactly what happened. To be fair, Porto do well, keep the ball. That's great patience. Keep the ball alive. Again, look at João Mario, the space that he has. And Samuel, he just pins. Too strong, too big. And Karen highlighted him before the game. What a player he is. 20 years old, physically so strong. Good in the air, but too easy to get crosses into the box. And that 2-2, you really feared for United because the momentum was with Porto.
Yeah, we said it, didn't we? Conceding goals in quick succession in Europe shouldn't really be a surprise because it's something we've seen time and time again under Erik ten Hag. Coming into the second half, as Owen said, though, it felt like the momentum was with Porto and they managed to capitalise on that with a third goal.
Yeah, they did. And then at this point, we were massively fearing for United. We're just highlighting there. The press was okay, but then Casemiro switches off again, the concentration gets run off the back shoulder. The two centre-backs are literally holding hands and then obviously get running behind, and then Samu does what he does best, gets in front of De Ligt, and De Ligt doesn't know where he is. But I just want to look at the two centre-backs there. They're so close to each other. And Martinez is thinking, do I do De Ligt's job? Then he switches off, then De Ligt switches off. That they were really, really poor tonight.
Struggled.
And they're Casemiro as well. So, I mean,
the gaps are too big there. You know, I think obviously get down the side of Martinez. De Ligt loses Samu, who was absolutely brilliant in terms of running the channels, efficient in front of goal. That kid's a player, and he caused De Ligt absolute nightmares today.
It's twice in a row now, back-to-back matches. Manchester United conceded 3 goals since Erik ten Hag joined the club in 2022. No Premier League team has conceded 3 or more goals than Manchester United in that time in all competitions. 24 games it's happened in. That's not good enough, is it, Owen?
No. I mean, today wasn't. The first 20 minutes were good. After that was a mess, really. And I think that's the issue. We said before the game, we're highlighting, okay, they got goal-scoring issues, only scored 5 in 6 games in the Premier League. Then today they had defensive issues. You know, at times it looks like they get something sorted and then something else goes. He's got to find a consistent centre-back partnership. You know, he took off his 2 starting centre-backs for 2 ones that have been there for a really long time, Johnny Evans and Hary Maguire. He's got to find goals at the top of the pitch. He's got to find defensive partners. He's got to find a partnership in midfield. But again, we go back to there's a lot of issues. You know, he's been there for quite a while, Eric. Now, a lot of that should have been sorted. So I think there'll be a lot of questions after the game because, you know, that's not the level. They need to be consistent.
Yeah, we'll be hoping to hear from Erik ten Hag very shortly as well. So stick around for that, Karen. It didn't get much better after that because Bruno Fernandez, the captain, then gets shown a second yellow card. Here's the first one. He got sent off eventually, but we're just going to take a look at the first yellow card. What do you think?
I think he catches him on the top of the foot. You know, in the modern game now, that is going to be a yellow card. We see it time and time again in the Premier League, whether we like it or not. It is the way it is now. He's late. I mean, for me, there's no question on this one. I think when it originally happened, I was like, go with your head. And then when he hangs his foot up so high, and you know, it's actually, I don't know why he's not gone with his head. He's not close enough, but that is a yellow card as well. So there's no complaints. And that, okay, he's had an overturn the other day, but that's 2 back-to-back red cards now for your Manchester United captain. You know, that's the control element that you need, and it wasn't there tonight.
The one against Tottenham felt harsh. Was this one harsh as well?
No, the Tottenham one was not red. He was unlucky. I don't think he was unlucky tonight. The first one, you know, but because it's early on in the game, they'll probably give a yellow for that, just because your foot's high. It doesn't need to be. Let him chest the ball, let him take the ball down, and then you win the ball on the ground. If you're on a booking, the second one, you just can't make that challenge. Just go head it.
He didn't receive a single red card in his first 241 appearances for Manchester United. And now in back-to-back games, he's got red cards, albeit he won the appeal for the red card against Tottenham. Is this a sign of frustration?
Yeah, I think it is. It is frustration, and I'm frustrated. I'm not a Man United fan. I'm frustrated every time I watch them. So I couldn't imagine being playing in it. And also, if you're captain and it looks like the manager can't have control and the captain can't have control, that's maybe his way of showing his frustration. And so I can get it, but you can't show it. And you're right, it's been the other one against Spurs was rescinded, but he can't ignore it. He's still kicked out, and then it's not uncharacteristic like, but it is frustration.
Yeah. Well, at 3-2 down, we were all scratching our heads in here as to why Erik ten Hag then changed his 2 centre-halves and brought on Hary Maguire as one of those substitutes. But I guess this is why, because he is a threat in the box, Owen.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant ball in from Eriksen, just stands it up. What a great header from Hary Maguire. You know, that's what you need. You need the big players to stand up. You know, just find something in a moment where you're under huge pressure. That could be a huge point, obviously, for Eric, but huge for Hary Maguire. Great ball from Eriksen. It's exactly, they just needed something in that moment, and Hary Maguire delivered.
How crucial could that goal be for the future of his manager?
I don't know whether it will change much, to be brutally honest. I feel for Hary Maguire because De Ligt's come in. I don't think he's made a great difference, and I think Hary Maguire might have come on there.
Hary will play on the weekend against Villa. I think he'll have to. Yeah, De Ligt, he struggled today.
Yeah,
Obviously, Sam was a super explosive and powerful player. But let's be fair, Ollie Watkins at the top of the pitch, John Duran, that's not going to get any easier.
No.
You know, so.
First, Hary Maguire scored in stoppage time to salvage a 3-3 draw for Manchester United on a dramatic night in Porto, which saw Bruno Fernandez sent off for the second match in a row. Well, United at one point were cruising. They were 2-0 up after goals from Marcus Rashford and Rasmus Højlund inside 20 minutes. But Pepe and Samuel Omorodion drew Porto level before half-time. Omorodion then scored again after the break to make it 3-2 to the home side. Things got worse for United when captain Fernandez was shown a second yellow card for a dangerously high tackle. But in the first of 3 minutes of stoppage time, substitute Maguire equalised for United with a header and rescue a valuable point for Erik ten Hag. It's their second in this Europa League phase. Well, Rob Enshaw was watching for us here in the studio. What a roller coaster of a game. And I can imagine what relief for Erik ten Hag after this man between us, Hary Maguire, scored that equaliser. Does it feel like a point gained, or does it feel like 2 dropped for United?
It's a weird feeling that both feelings.
It is, isn't it?
It's both feelings, because you're 2-0 up first half, cruising, and it looked as if Porto were struggling, shell-shocked. Bang! All of a sudden, I think in 6 minutes it's 2-2. Manchester United are rocked, and then they're 3-2 down, and then it's a man sent off. It looked over, to be honest with you. I think Porto would feel really devastated, because they had 2 one-on-ones in the second half, and they could have finished it. And it's ended up 3-3. Hary Maguire with the saviour. So I mean, well done, Manchester United, first of all, because Porto difficult, good team. You end up with 3-3, and I think a sigh of relief, I think, is the feeling in the dressing room now, because they are happy with the point, because it was about not losing. First of all, the way the game went, they've ended up not losing.
Yeah, and significant moment for Hary Maguire, given he's not had the best of days, left out of the England squad.
A horrible day. Yeah, horrible day for him. And you could see on his face the disappointment, and he didn't even smile when he scored, which I think you'd be devastated. You left out the England squad, devastated. He comes on and he's now the saviour for Manchester United. So well done for him. Great goal, great header. 3-3. I mean, I'm exhausted.
Yeah. I was exhausted watching you talk about it. But serious point about Erik ten Hag. I mean, you just fear what would have happened if they'd lost this game and his captain sent off for a second match in a row. Where does this leave him now with that huge game at Villa Park on Super Sunday coming up?
It makes the Villa game even bigger, because I think most people would have expected a Manchester United loss today. So I think this is a big point, and it's actually a good step forward. It's way better than Tottenham, the Tottenham game, and they weren't outplayed completely. They showed signs of who they are as Manchester United. The weird thing is they could end up with winning at Villa, and now it's 4 points from the last 2 games, and everything is brilliant. But listen, they are capable of doing excellent winning games, but tonight they're capable of conceding goals, and they struggle defensively.
Yeah,
tonight.
They really did. Yeah. Rob, thank you so much for your company this
Pleasure.
evening. Really appreciate it. Well, talking about actually conceding goals, this is a truly damning statistic for Manchester United. This was the 24th time that they've conceded 3 or more goals in a single game under Erik ten Hag since he took over at Old Trafford in 2022. That is more than any other Premier League time in that period. Incredible stat. This is Manchester United we're talking about. OK.
Half. We'll start with the lead goal for FC Porto, and it's that man Samu again taking his opportunity and out-muscling the Manchester United defence.
Yeah, again, it's just 2 passes. Here's the first one. Runs off Casemiro, and all of a sudden, Pepe's in like a massive channel between Martinez and Dalot, and then a little bit of reverse movement from Simo, and he scores. Look at that gap there, and then. Martinez trying to stay with him. There's Simo, great finish. But honestly, Connor, 2 passes.
Yeah.
1 straight pass, 1 side pass, and the gap between the left back and the centre half is huge. And then Pepe gets the run on Martinez. He's isolated. Dalot should be far more narrow to make it a 2v1 situation. And I don't know about you, Richard, but maybe De Ligt should do better as well.
Yeah, he has to concentrate on the ball a bit more, De Ligt. I think he's too worried about the centre forward. I know you've got to make sure it's not chipped over your head and all that stuff, but when you can see the body shape of the attacker crossing the ball, you have to go and squeeze the ball, you have to go and cut out the cross. But to me, De Ligt isn't an improvement on what Man United already had. Yeah. I think he's just another one who's going to fall into the sort of category of a decent centre-half. He's not the one that's going to lead them back to league titles and Champions League level. And I think that goal is it's very, very good centre-forward move, but it's the most basic of movement from a centre-forward, and he should be able to deal with it.
But even like from a midfield point of view, Casemiro's wrong side. When the ball comes into the midfield, he's on the opposite side of where he should be. So Nico Gonzalez can't get turned and play a slide rule pass into a wide open channel. If Casemiro stands and gets goal saved, then it never happens.
And the thing is, to some neutral viewers and maybe the more kind of partisan Manchester United fans, they might say that it's too easy to be critical of Manchester United at the moment. They're bereft of confidence, they're not playing well. But he's picked a team with 2 sitting midfield players to try and combat those types of movements where they're played through so easily, Casemiro and Eriksen. And then he's got, like, Martinez is a robust centre-half by modern standards. He's able to make tackles, and De Ligt has been brought in at great expense to try and replace either Lindelof or Maguire. So none of those 4 players tonight, which is almost half your team, have covered themselves in glory yet again.
Now, I just wonder if there's a problem with the 2 centre-halves because they've come off. You brought Maguire and Evans on at the end. I don't know if they're maybe carrying an injury, but I'm just talking about the structure and the build-up of the team, Conor. You know, one pass, bump, gets turned into the channel, and they're in on goal, cut back goal. You know, it's almost like 3 passes over 70 yards. It's in the back of the net that United get. So it's not just a personnel thing, it's a positional thing off the ball as well.
And I want to ask the most obvious question, is it's almost like, because it happens so often, they have to be aware of it. And yet, it doesn't seem like they are, because how can you allow that to happen almost week on week?
Yeah, and it's very easy, because the goals are conceding, to look at the back line and say, right, well, the midfield's not good enough and the defence isn't good enough. But where's the pressure from up top? We were told that they were getting rid of Ronaldo because he doesn't press enough. This front line can't press either. Xerxes come into the team, he can't press. Bruno Fernandez presses when he wants and who he wants, but not in the structure of a team. We've seen Rashford never tracks back. Garnacho, I'll give a little bit of leeway because he's brilliant going forward and he will track back, and sometimes he switches off, but it's not his first thing. Diallo's the same. Just as an overall unit, there is no structure to them.
And even when you mention Rashford, I'm thinking, in 45 minutes of football, he's got a goal and an assist when he's taken so much criticism, and then he comes off at half-time. Now, I don't know, was there an injury? We spoke about the fact that defensively he switched off time in a game. I'm not sure Garnacho gives you so much more defensively. He probably will work a little bit harder. But United fans will say, we need Rashford going forward.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Look, there's evidence. And again, I'm loath to be critical of him, but, you know, it was obvious that, you know, on 2 occasions which led to goals, he could have done a little bit better for his team defensively. Thought going forward tonight, you know, and a real outball for United. But obviously he's picked up something, Conor, because I wouldn't have thought he'd have been Ten Hag's first choice to take off at half-time.
A certain previous Manchester United manager was accustomed to seeing his side score injury time goals, highly important, very often at the other end of affairs in big European games. This one could yet turn out to be very important for Ten Hag, and if it is, he owes Hary Maguire a debt of gratitude.
Yeah, it was a strange one, because when he came on with Johnny Evans, you're thinking, what's that sort of substitution? How is that going to help them? But like De Ligt had won a few headers, Maguire comes in and just ploughs his way through the defence, gets well above the centre half, and a really good header down into the corner. And yeah, a massive goal, I suppose, on tonight's basis and for the result for tonight. If it ends up saving Ten Hag for another, if it ends up saving Ten Hag for a long time, great, because he's been successful. If it ends up delaying the inevitable, it's one of those. It's a goal. It's a point. It's a point. Yeah.
It was actually, you said almost in real time, as the second yellow card was shown to Bruno Fernandez. It was 242 games before he'd received 1 red card. Now he's got 2 in the space of 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, I was shocked that the first one on Sunday was his first red card. I thought he would have had previous to that, but I said before the game, you needed a bigger performance from your captain tonight, and I just think too often he's just too emotional. It's like he can't win that, and he knows he's on a yellow card. And this is why I'm surprised this is only a second red card. But he doesn't make contact, but I still think it's a red card because it's a dangerous attempt to try and go and win the ball. But throughout the night, I didn't see enough from Bruno Fernandez to suggest he's the leader Man United need.
Yeah, 3 wins in 10 games. You can throw all the stats at it. The one that jumped out of the page for me is now 24 times they've conceded 3 or more goals since the start of last season. I mean, they're leaking goals left, right and centre. It is the type of, let's not forget here, they had a 2-goal lead.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Bar the 91st minute intervention for Hary Maguire. You're talking about surrendering a 2-goal lead and losing 3-2 away to a Porto side. They're by no means the side that Porto were some 20 years ago. What about your thoughts then on Bruno Fernandez and the implications of the red card in terms of what it says about United? And
OK, he's only yellow card, as Richard says. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's a second yellow. I thought he was very unfortunate to get the red card on Sunday, and I backed him on that. He slipped and fell into the tackle. But there's no excuse for tonight, and that's not what you want from any of your players that have remained your captain. So he's left his team high and dry with 20 minutes to go, 3-2 down away from home. It's not good enough. And for me, if he'd been winning titles and cups and blah, 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 then you could say, yeah, we'll give him a bit of leeway. He's not. You could maybe look at Martinez, who I think is, gives everything, and he's pretty consistent. All right, maybe he didn't have one of his better nights tonight, but who could you give the armband to go, yeah, that makes sense to me?
Whoever it is will have a job of work. The amount of times that you two guys were picking out incidents in the game where United were just we saw it with a couple of the goals, far too easy to play through. And again, it's basic stuff really, isn't it? Yeah, and
I watched Aston Villa against Bayern Munich last night, and Bayern Munich tried to come through the middle of Aston Villa, and they couldn't get near it. Villa blocked them off and said, listen, you can advance, but you're going wide. Man United's the complete opposite. You can go where you like. You can attack through the middle. You can attack out wide. Anything you want to do, they allow you to. And it's just basic stuff.
70 seconds into the game.
Yeah, and that's a sprint for Martinez. He just allows it. It's just a jog into the corner. Everything, they don't sense where the danger is coming from. Again, a run untracked. People allow it. Passes in around the box. Samu gets the ball. He's got time to control it 2 yards away from him. And
this is the one for me, Donny.
This is it.
It's the goalie's clear out, and all of a sudden it's just too easy for Porto to get it down. 2 or 3 passes, and they're in. And Diallo's knocking his pan in to get back, but it should never come to that, Connor. In the first, there's no physical contact. From a goalie kicking it out to bring it down and go out the other way, and it's a one-on-one. It's just far too easy.
This is just simple, where they're all back in shape, but they're not sending them anywhere. Again, Hary Maguire, I don't know what he's doing. I can understand we can't see Mazraoui behind them, but Johnny Evans has stood in the left-back position. They're almost looking at each other, and he still tries to step up. And this is the complete disorganisation. If somebody's in control of that back line, they're going, hold your line, drop. The guy's got time and space, drop off. But they just try and take... It's almost a cheater's option, isn't it? You try and just hide at times.
I totally agree with you. Yeah. I totally agree with you, and I totally agree with him on the Villa thing. If you watch Villa's work as a back four, and not just last night, Donny, over the course of the time Emery's been there, they are so well organised at the back. They can do a high line, they can do deep. With Man United, it's like all over the place.
Bruno Fernandez sent off for second time in 5 days as Man United crisis hits new low. Bruno Fernandez is sent off after picking up a second yellow card in Manchester United's dramatic 3-3 draw against Porto in the Europa League, just days after another dismissal versus Tottenham. Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandez has been sent off for the second time in 5 days. Fernandez was dismissed in United's 3-0 thrashing by Tottenham in the Premier League on Sunday and has now compounded things with another red card. The United skipper was shown a second yellow card for a high foot in the 82nd minute of their Europa League tie against Porto, which finished 3-3. The Portugal international was already on a yellow card, also given for a high foot, when he stuck a boot out in an attempt to get on the end of a cross into the box. But Porto defender Nahuan Perez stooped to head clear before going down holding his face. Bruno Fernandez is not happy. He has gone in high with his foot and it is dangerous, former Premier League goalkeeper Paul Robinson said on BBC Radio 5 Live. In Fernandez's defence, he is looking at the ball, but when you do that you give the referee no option. The sending off added to a dreadful night for United, who had been 2-0 up after 20 minutes after Diogo Costa failed to keep out efforts from Marcus Rashford and Rasmus Højlund at the near post. But United's terrible run of form threatened to continue as Porto fought back to take control. Pepe pulled a goal back before summer signing Samu Omarodian powered in a header and blasted in at the near post to make it 3-2 to the home side. United rescued a point when Hary Maguire, on as a late substitute, powered in a corner from Christian Eriksen. Fernandez saw his red card against Spurs overturned on appeal, having slipped into a tackle with James Maddison. The decision means that he will be available to face Aston Villa in the Premier League on Sunday. But his dismissal in the Europa League will carry a one-match ban in the competition. United's next match in Europe comes against Fenerbahce in Turkey on October 24th. United have now begun their Europa League campaign with successive draws, having been held 1-1 by FC Twente at Old Trafford. Thursday's result adds pressure to Erik ten Hag, who has now gone 4 games without a win. United have managed to do it quite well since back-to-back wins over Southampton and Barnsley raised hopes that a difficult start to the season was no more than that, and they were at it again here. Underwhelming draws with Crystal Palace and Twente followed by the Spurs defeat that so enraged ten Hag and his players put more importance on this tie than you would normally expect at this stage of the competition. The United manager was able to give Rasmus Højlund his first start of the season due to injury and decided to go for an experienced midfield of Casemiro and Christian Eriksen in the absence of Kobbie Mainoo, leaving new 50 million signing Manuel Ugarte on the bench. It looked like a good decision after 20 minutes as United raced into a 2-goal lead, with Eriksen having a hand in both efforts from Marcus Rashford and Højlund. Rashford struck in the 7th minute after the Dane played the ball out to him on the left. There didn't seem too much threat to Porto, with Steven Eustáquio and João Mario both tracking United's number 10 as he approached the box, but Rashford did what he can do so well, wriggling past them both before unleashing a low right-foot shot. Goalkeeper Diogo Costa, who made a name for himself saving penalties for Portugal at the Euros this summer, didn't cover himself in glory this time as he failed to get enough on Rashford's effort to prevent it from creeping over the line. Rashford looked in the mood, and after Nahuel Perez almost nicked his menacing cross into his own goal, he and Eriksen combined to play in Højlund in the 20th minute. The angle was tight, but he fired first time to the near post where Costa blundered again, a weak right hand not enough to stop the ball going in again despite Perez's best effort to clear off the line. Everything was going right for ten Hag, but as is so often the case with United, especially in Europe, it didn't take long to start going wrong. João Mario's crosses from the right were a real problem, and when Nasser Mazraoui headed one towards his own goal under pressure from Samu in the 27th minute, Andre Onana managed to keep it out with a flying save. However, Pepe reached the loose ball faster than Lisandro Martinez to head in. And Porto pulled level to the delight of the Estadio do Dragão 7 minutes later. Matthijs de Ligt couldn't clear his lines despite 2 attempts, and the ball was once again shifted to the right for João Mario to cross. Samu had been a handful from the beginning, and he muscled his way in front of de Ligt to head into the roof of the net.